Good morning, my fellow dog lovers. I am here to tell you about doggy favourites. I can tell you that one of them is not my favourite smell in the world. It's sitting here and I'm like, perhaps I'll tell him about that one first so that I can get it out of this room. Actually, this is one of the things that inspired me to come and tell you about my favourites, because I put a video on Instagram of little Miss Dixie. We had her visiting because she's just become a big sister to a human baby, and so we took her out for a walk and she came to stay with us for the evening, and she was chewing one of these things on Instagram, and a couple of people were asking what is it and is it a bone, but it wasn't a bone and it isn't rawhide, so it's great because I found these very early on, and I have mentioned them in a favourites video before, because I was always looking for long-lasting treats for Watson that weren't a bone, because I was always paranoid about bones splintering. I do occasionally give Watson venison and marrow bone, but I watch him very closely, and I occasionally give him little things that are rawhide, you know, with like duck wrapped around these tiny little strips, but I prefer not to, and he's so fussy. Anyway, I found these and they are called beef tendons. And this is what it looks like. This is about how big it is. That's it from the bottom. So this is a smallish one. Now this is maybe a medium one. And sometimes they are skinnier than this. There's a couple, not in this packet, but in the packet that is open. Actually, you can see one there. There's a really skinny one in there. A really skinny one in there. You can sometimes get them a lot bigger. And sometimes they're a lot skinnier, and sometimes they're never like small, which I like because Watson is a medium-sized dog, and so I don't want him to have something that he would try to swallow whole. That's what I struggle with. I don't want him to ever have a short thing. I want it to be big enough that he's not going to try and swallow that whole, and it's not something that will disappear in 5 minutes. This is going to take him a long time to get through. There's been a few occasions where we've given him one of these, and half an hour later we've been looking for it. You know, we keep on watching him, and we're like, right, let's just check that chew, and it's gone down like that much, you know, and then all of a sudden we're like, where has it gone? And we're like, he must have eaten it, but it's like that big, and then we take it away from him when it gets too small. But it really does take a long time, you know, to reduce in size. So beef tendons, healthier than rawhide, takes a long time to get through. He's gone off pizzles. This is the problem. Pizzles were the thing that we used to give him that he enjoyed, but he just doesn't seem to enjoy them anymore. Also with pizzles, they seem to be harder to get. We used to be able to get them that length. I can now buy pizzles in Pets at Home, but they're this length, and I don't want to give him some at that length, like I said, even if he did like them. Okay, the next thing on the list, I'm not doing these in any order of like food, treats, etc. I'm just doing random things. So the next thing on the list is a raw food company, and it's Bella and Duke. If you are in the UK, that is, you need to check out Bella and Duke, because you guys know I've been using raw food for Watson for many years, and I am not somebody that chose raw food because I had researched it and decided that I was a raw food follower or a raw food advocate. I'm not that person. I wish I could say I was, because I do a lot of research about a lot of things. I'm from a research background, you know, medical research is my background, and I love to research things, but there's only so much time in the day. The reason that we chose raw food is because Watson had colitis. For the first year of his life, he had bloody diarrhea every day of his life pretty much, and I was just at my wit's end because he had so many other things wrong with him. He had allergies, he had colitis, he had hip problems, you know, he's had so many things wrong with him, and I just was so sad for him because I thought he's a puppy and I want him to live a puppy's life, you know. And we were back and forward to the vet. We were given probiotics, we were given antibiotics, we were given different probiotics, we were given pellets, powders. We tried numerous foods. Now, a lot of people, when I say that, go, oh, you're not supposed to switch food, you're supposed to do it slowly. But he's so fussy that when I say we tried 30+ foods, I mean that we would try to put food down and he wouldn't eat it. Or we would try to gradually introduce a food and it would make no difference. And we'd transition to that food and it would make no difference. And we would try the food that was, you know, the scientific food that they gave us, and it would make no difference. And people kept telling us try raw, and we were like, oh, raw food, really? And so eventually we were like, you know what, should we give this blooming raw a try? We weren't keen and the whole hygienic thing bothered us, but we tried it, and literally overnight he was a different dog. Overnight, firm poops, never looked back. But it hasn't stopped Watson being a fussy eater. He doesn't like fish. And we still thought he was allergic to poultry, so chicken and turkey. Not thought, he may still be. We're kind of in a testing phase with that. But that aside, he couldn't eat chicken, he couldn't eat turkey, he won't eat fish, and so it was really quite difficult to find a food. But we were using Country Hunter raw nuggets. But it seemed like every time he had a health issue, he would go off his food, and we were like, oh my goodness, what we're going to do to get him back eating raw, because raw is the only thing that works for his tummy. And again, people would say, well, if he doesn't eat his food, you know, you just remove it and he misses his food. But with Watson, if he didn't eat his raw food, his colitis would flare up. So it's not quite as simple as if he doesn't eat it, he doesn't eat it, you know, his colitis would flare up. So we went to Bella and Duke. Somebody recommended Bella and Duke. And I can tell you it's the first time in 4 years, this is the first thing that happened, first time in 4 years, Watson has cleared his food in one sitting. I actually called my husband, I put the food down and I was like, Kev, come here. And we were standing watching him, and it was like, oh my God, he ate his food in a 1 hour. And we were like, it's not that he's a fussy eater. He's just never found a food that he loved, because everything that we've put down for him, he's like loving it, and he's just eating everything. And like, the bowl, the stainless steel bowl is like rattling off. I've got it on a raised thing, he's rattling, he's trying to get every single bit of it. It just makes my heart sing. I'm so happy. And I'm like, see, all these years, that makes me sad actually. All these years I've never, out of all the foods I've tried, I've never found one that he loved that much. And I've tried home cooking him food. I've tried, you know, these butternut box ones that are home cooked. That wasn't any good for his bum. He did like it, but not to that extent. So that was the first breakthrough with Bella and Duke. So that was it. That's all we needed to know. It was worked on his digestion. He absolutely loved it. But now he is running around again like a puppy. He is just like a new dog. And he's just over cancer. And so part of us thought it might be that, but it was a little lump. It wasn't a systemic cancer, you know. And this food is just, honestly, he's like a new dog. If you have been wondering about raw, try Bella and Duke. You can get a tester pack. You don't have to commit. It's a subscription that you can cancel anytime. It's not as expensive as you think. People always think it's expensive, and it's actually not. The Country Hunter stuff was cheaper than half the dry food that we were using. It's not horrible, because I've got a real dodgy stomach for that kind of thing. I've been somebody that hasn't cooked meat. I don't cook meat for myself. Kev cooks meat, but I can dish this stuff up. You know, it doesn't look gruesome. So if you haven't thought of raw and you're worried about the hygiene side, please don't worry, because again, we don't give him chicken and turkey because we think he's allergic to it. And so what we're giving him is duck, beef, what else does he get? Duck, beef, tripe, things that we as humans could eat raw. So there's no extra risk to us than there would be with you cooking your own beef and stuff, you know what I mean? Because we could eat that raw. So I just, like I said, it's not that to do with the research, I'm not one of those enthusiasts. It's just from my experience with seeing the actual difference in Watson. Right, that's little rant over. So Bella and Duke, I'll link to their website. Okay, I think everything else I have, except for I bought a toy box, or it's a linen toy box type thing. Soft one, but firm at the same time, if that makes sense. I have been looking for one for ages that was big enough to put Watson's toys in, because again, a lot of these seem to be too small, and I wanted one that was big enough, but that showed that it was a doggy toy box, you know. And this one is just perfect, and it's a nice sort of grey colour. I'll put a picture on the screen of mine in the living room rather than bringing it through. I think it would be nicer for you to see it actually sitting in the living room. And it's just perfect, and it wasn't like uber expensive. And I thought that was lovely, so I thought that might interest you in case you are looking for something similar. And one other item, this won't appeal to many people, because I imagine most dogs in cars are either in the boot or on the back seat. And in our main family car, in my husband's car, Watson will be on the back seat, but in my car, when I take him out, he's on the passenger seat, because I never have anybody really in the passenger seat. So when I take him for a walk, he's on my passenger seat. And I used to just put a towel on the passenger seat, but I still found that there was like, I'd take the towel off to go and wash it, and I'd be super embarrassed if I was giving somebody a lift somewhere, because I'd be like, oh my God, it's covered in sand, you know, or it's covered in dirt or whatever. And the dirt would obviously, he'd wriggle about and the sand would get underneath it. So I was like, I need a cover for that seat. And I found one, and it's really, really good. And it's called a dry robe, I think. A dry robe seat cover. And so again, I'll try and put a picture in for you, and I will link it on Amazon. It's expensive enough. I think it was £40, something like that, but it's been well worth it because it's washable. I'm still putting a towel on top of it just so that it's kind of doubly covered, but it means that when I take the towel, I can swap the towel over, and then if ever I was having somebody sitting on that seat, it would be perfectly clean, because I have taken it off and it's perfectly clean, you know. So yeah, I thought I would tell you about that again, just in case anybody is the same as me and has their dog in the passenger seat. Yeah, everything else is here. So I'm going to tell you first about these t-shirts, because I think these are fab and they were really inexpensive. I can't remember the exact price. It was around about £10, but I bought these. You might recognise them. When Watson had cancer, when he had his operation to remove the tumour, it was just under his arm, and it was so difficult to keep him from licking it. And I tried to put his toweling robe on, you know, his dog robe, and that did work to an extent, but he would lick through it, and I didn't really want to put him in his robe when he was going out for his walks, and he loves having like a roly-poly, you know. And so when it was getting to the point where it was healing a bit and he wasn't bothering it so much, like after the stitches were out and whatnot, I was like, what can I put on this that can protect it from... I wanted to allow him to roly-poly when he was not licking it, so that it wouldn't get dirt in it, but it didn't need to be that protective. I don't know if I'm even making sense. And this is what I put on him, and it worked absolutely perfectly. And I already used these t-shirts. I already had one. I've got one in blue somewhere that I use in the summer. So I thought I'd come and tell you about them, because this will work really well for all sorts. So it goes on. In fact, rather than keep on flapping this in front of your eyes, I'll put a picture in of Watson in these. Because this would cover any tummy operation. I don't think it would cover a spay for a boy. It might cover a spay for a girl. I'm not quite sure of the anatomy and exactly how far up they'd be doing that operation. So I'm not 100% sure if it'd cover a spay for a girl. But it'd be worth like looking at the measurements and whatnot. But certainly for any other operations, for anything like along the back, for anything on the shoulders, and for anything kind of at this bit, chest bit and under the arms, it's really, really good. But additionally, like I said, it's good in summer. So I used it all last summer, and what I do is I completely soak it wet and then put it on him before he goes with the walker. Because I've got a cool vest, and those cool vests are rubbish. They cool down, and every walker I've known has told me this, because I've had a couple of walkers leave and I've discussed it with all of them, and my walker said that this one was much better, and they can just tip water over it, or they can lie in the river and that makes it wet again. And my walker was saying that once I started using this on Watson, and we had a crazy hot summer here in Scotland last year, well, the whole of the UK did, didn't we, that it made such a difference, and he seemed to be enjoying himself. Because I was worried that the fact that he was wearing a bit of a tighter top would kind of bother him, but the fact that it was wet, I think, definitely cooled him down. So I'm going to use these again this year, and I bought another one so that, you know, because they do get dirty and they do look filthy, but they're easily washable. In fact, I can feel that this one's new, so I'm going to wash this and put some conditioner in it because it feels a little bit stiff. Yeah, they're absolutely brilliant, so I would highly recommend them, and I will link them for you. I'll link the beef tendons and everything else that I've talked about that I can as well. I wanted to show you this liver paste. This, you know how they say liver paste is like crack for dogs, and it really is. And this one is much better than, in my opinion, is much better than the Arden Grange one. Because the Arden Grange one, to me, every time I used it, oil would come running out. Now, it has happened with this, but it only happens when I first use it. But like that, I've not used that for a couple of days, and you can see there's no oil in it. You know, oil doesn't come running out. but with the Arden Grange one, oil always came spilling out of it. And this one, the plastic tube, is much easier to use. You do have to be careful when you get to the very end, it does sometimes split there. But I think these are great for, like, if you're going on a walk and you're doing like heel training or recall training. I use this for what we call door training, so trying to not get him to rush to the door. And because this is such a high value treat, it is something that I can use. I just pick it up and get it, and he can smell it from quite far away, you know, and he gets just a little bit. He'll just get like that little millimetre for not running to the door. So I can get it out and Kev will go to the door and I'm just holding this and he'll stay with it, because he'd much rather this than he would go and find out who's at the door. And so this has been a godsend, and you can buy them in a pack of 3 from Amazon. I think they're called Pet Pal. Yeah, Pet Pal. And you can also use these on licky mats, and I'm going to show you something that's like a mini licky mat that's really good as well. So I've been loving that. Okay, so as I mentioned, they're licky mats. I bought these. Now, you get them in a pack of 6, and they're actually coasters. They're drink coasters. But I thought they'd be brilliant, and they are, to put like yogurt on, or you can use them for this, for paste. And with it becoming the hot weather now, fingers crossed it stays that way, you can put yogurt on and freeze some of these, and then they make great treats for summer, like a kind of lollipop for dogs. And you can get obviously lacto-free yogurt if your dog is lactose intolerant, but also you can use them as a kind of find it game. So you get 6 in a pack. I think they might be about £15, something like that. I'll link them for you, of course, but you get about 6 in a pack. So you could take, say, 4 of them and put a different flavour, you know, put liver paste on one, put peanut butter on another. You don't have to put much on at all, like a little teaspoon on, Philadelphia cheese, something like that, and then hide them in a room. What I was doing actually is I put a sandwich, you know, I put one on top of the other so that I could hide it under the duvet, and he had to go and find it. And that really tires the dog out, using their nose like that, you know. So I would get him to sit in the hall, and getting him to sit and wait was a really good opportunity to train him to wait, and that tired him out. And then I would put some of this liver paste on, put another one on top, and go and hide it in one of the rooms and get him to find it. But I've also got some of these sitting in the freezer with the yogurt on. And I bought some Frozzies, but the Frozzies, there's quite a lot in one, so I let it defrost and then split it between 3 and refrosted it, refroze it. So these are brilliant. They're just like mini licky mats, and so I think they were really handy as well. This is a bit random, but I thought I would show them to you in case you were into brain games like me. They're just little bags, and I think I get 100 at a time for a few pounds. And I use these for all sorts of brain games for Watson. And so if you're into brain games for your dog, it does cause a bit of a mess, so let me first tell you that. But if you're into brain games, then you'll be okay with that, because, you know, it's like if you get a dog and then complain about muddy feet, then don't get a dog, you know. You can use them just as they are, so you could just get a few of these bags, put a treat in, scrunch it up and hide these in different rooms, or just throw them on the floor. You know, there's so many different ways you can use them, but I use them, I'll either put these inside boxes, or I'll hide them, or I'll use them, you know, I've got that fun tower that's got pegs on it, I'll peg them, or I'll use them on, I've got a sock dryer, and I'll put loads of treats in these and pin them on the sock dryer and then hang it on the ironing board, and he has to pull them off. There's just so many different ways I can use these, so I always like to have a stack of these in to use. So I thought they were really handy. It's just something, if you need to get on with something and, you know, the dog's ready for a walk but entertainment will do, then you could just grab a few of these and you've got instant entertainment for them. And talking of entertainment, this book is amazing. I have bought so many books on dogs, I can't tell you, and a lot of them, I've got some really, really good dog books, but this is the best one, the only one I've ever bought that's good on brain games for dogs, and it's called Brain Teasers for Dogs. And it's not even that big, and I looked at it and I thought, oh no, that's just going to be nothing new, you know, because I look all over the web for brain games. I've watched every video going, I look at service dog training, I look at Pinterest, used as much imagination as I can. I look around my house and think of every item as the toy, and I thought, I'm sure there isn't anything out there that can give me any new ideas, but this has. And it gives you, every single game gives you from a dog that has never done a brain game before to a dog that is advanced like my Watson. It gives you all different variations on it, and you can see I've got loads of like pages with where I've turned, you know, over, said remember to do that, remember to do that, remember to do that, and it's really, really good. And so if you're looking for new ideas, this is really good, because it's not only, it gives you exact examples, but it also kind of opens your mind to all the possibilities of things that you can do with things that you have in your house. And it really did make me think, oh yeah, I never even thought about doing it that way, you know. And so a really, really good book. And this would be a good present as well for somebody that, you know, likes to do that kind of thing. In fact, I've got somebody in mind that I might buy that for. So that's a great one. The two last things are to do with grooming. Well, grooming and allergies. The first one is this Hibiscrub. I wanted to show you this because I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that have dogs that are chewing their paws, chewing their hip, dragging their bum, itching their ears. And I know that a lot of them, from everything I've seen, again, I watch every doggy program on TV, I talk to everybody in the park, and I know that there's a lot of dogs that go through the same as Watson has done with his allergies. And it seems like a lot of dogs have a yeast allergy, and that's what Watson has. And so Watson has medication, he has injections, he has all sorts. But one of the things he has for his yeast allergies is this shampoo. What he's actually prescribed is chlorhexidine shampoo, but the chlorhexidine shampoo is actually very thick. There's different shampoos. He's got Malaceb or chlorhexidine. There's different strengths, but it's an antifungal shampoo, and it's very expensive. It's £20, and if I used it every week as I should, I would probably need 2 bottles a month, so it'd be £40 a month. Now, I do get it back from insurers, but it would mean going to the vet twice a month and getting it, and it would mean putting in a constant claim for it. And believe you me, we already put in a lot of claims. We've already got tons of money coming in and out constantly. Whereas this, I can buy, this is probably about £5. I did buy a pack of 3 for this big size. And I'll link you this 3-pack, but there'll be a single one, and you can even buy this in Boots for £3 or £4. And this is Hibiscrub, and this is just chlorhexidine, which is exactly what is in that other shampoo. Now, I think that this may have a bit of alcohol in it, so you would need to be very, very careful around the muzzle. I would suggest not washing the muzzle. And if their muzzle is really, really itchy, make sure you only wash underneath. For those of you not aware, I am a qualified groomer, and I did do grooming. So if I was washing with this, I'd just make sure I washed underneath, and if they were wriggling about, I would probably avoid it altogether. You just don't want to get it in their mouth. You don't want them to swallow any of the alcohol. But if they've got, for example, itchy ears, just make sure you carefully wash all around that area around their ears. Make sure you put a cotton wool ball in their ears, so again, you're not getting any in their ears. But particularly the paws, this would be really, really useful to soak their paws in. So if you've got a dog with itchy paws, put the plug in the bath, put some of this in, maybe 3 capfuls, and then run the water lukewarm. It'll bubble up a little bit, and then just stand them in there and maybe play a game with them, like maybe give them a little massage if they like that, a little scratch if they like that, or teach them how to touch, you know, like touch your hand, or teach them how to speak, and, you know, give them little treats for it so that they don't notice they're standing in the bath. I normally do it when I'm washing Watson, so I'm washing the rest of him while he's standing in the bath. And that could really help with the itchy paws. But this Hibiscrub is just so inexpensive, and as you can hear, it's really thin, and so this will last forever. And it just means, I know that it means I pay for it and I don't have to claim it on my insurance. I don't get the money back, but it will cost me pennies over the year, and so I don't mind. It's just, for me, it's more practical. And for those of you that either don't have insurance or don't have it covered, I think it's worthwhile knowing, or just want a quick solution right now. This is something to try. And the last thing to show you is this Wahl Easy Groom Animal Conditioner. If you have got a dog with a long coat, There's certain coats that you probably shouldn't condition, but you know, if you've got a dog that's got a tangly coat and you're having any problems at all with matting, get yourself some of this conditioner. It's called Easy Grooming. It's by Wahl Showman. I've used this conditioner since I was grooming, and I used it on all my dogs that had mats because it just makes the coat so much easier to manage. So this would be about how much I would leave in here, and then I would fill it up to about there. I would first fill it up with hot water, so I would normally pre-prepare. So I'd fill that up with hot water to there and then really, really shake it. And then when it was time to groom the dog, I'd give it another shake, make sure obviously that it wasn't still hot. It should be about lukewarm. Make sure it wasn't too cold either, and make sure, you know, fill it up to make it the right temperature. And then just pour that over their coat, and it's just so lovely. It smells lovely. It doesn't bother allergies. I've never found this bother anybody's allergies, and it just makes it easier to comb through all the mats and whatnot. You know, it's really good stuff. So I'd highly recommend this if you have a dog with a long coat and you want it to smell lovely, feel lovely and soft, but be easy enough to comb through. So I wanted to tell you about that again. I'm sure I've probably mentioned that before. That's everything in today's doggy favourites. Let me know what your favourites are, because, you know, I'm sure there's a million things out there that I'd love to buy, and I just love spending money on doggy stuff. So let me know, and I will speak to you again soon.